And every excuse you try to give me when a situation is truly inappropriate for you is your responsibility.
Yeah. But what I like
Okay.
how you set that up really well is you said, start with you. Know yourself, take care of yourself, know your trigger points, do your work on yourself. This is the Brandon Smith Show, and I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of the show is one singular thing, and that is to help you live a life that's much more free from dysfunction. So I'll tell you what, I think almost today's show is something that I probably need as much as everyone listening. We are going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about how to make a mindset shift and the importance of making a mindset shift and the responsibility that we have on that. And so to help us on this journey, I have a wonderful guest, Andrea Goeglein. Andrea, I'm so happy and thrilled to have you on this show.
Thank you. It's a delight and my pleasure to be here. I can't wait for our conversation.
I can't wait either. And you have so many different hats you wear and roles you play and have played. And so we were talking before the show on titles. I said, well, Andrea, gosh, I don't even know what to call you because you do so many things. And we talked about Success Catalyst as kind of a good way to kind of sum it all up. And I love that. So maybe that's a good starting place. When you think about Success Catalyst, what does that mean?
Well, for me, it is a culmination of all the experiences that I've had owning business, working in businesses, and my education, which has always fed me all along the way. And what it basically means is that I've come to a place where I believe that I work with people to help them solve their thinking problems. The people I work with are already successful. They have had a degree of success at some point, and they need to be reinvigorated to remember what it took to get them there, and then we work to get them to the next place. Sometimes it looks like a new business, sometimes it looks like a new career. But all the time it starts out with, what are you thinking that's stopping you from getting where you want to go? Or what are you not thinking about that would help you get there?
Yeah, I love that. And I love this idea too, that's already successful. It's really about how do we think about our mindset and how can we be taking ownership of that?
Yes.
So, one of the things that I thought was really interesting for us to explore a little bit is you often in the world of management and leadership and teams, there's so much responsibility placed on managers and leaders to say, well, gosh, if your people leave, it's your fault. If they're unhappy, it's your fault. It's all your fault, Miss Manager or Miss Leader or Mr. Manager or Mr. Leader. And when I've learned even from just doing some research on some of your work is you're really accurately and smartly point out it's everyone's responsibility in this. So let's talk a little about that. What is the role of an employee in that relationship?
Well, it's not just the role of the employee, it's the role of all of us, no matter what role we play. We have to be aware. Number one, what type of a mindset do we have? The science that I work in uses either the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. And those are ways of being. If you are born more naturally with a fixed mindset, can you just blow it up and all of a sudden become, a growth mindset? No, but can you learn ways to see when your fixed mindset is not serving you? Absolutely. That's, my love of the choice of all this. So there's that aspect of it. And then there is the research that just came out from Gallup over the last month that basically said that people are leaving organizations because they are not feeling as though their well-being, which is a huge part of the work I do in flourishing and PERMA, which is all part of positive psychology. I could talk a little bit about later, but my well-being and satisfaction. And the article or the research was leading to the fact that it was the organization's responsibility to make me happy. And I'm going to tell you that one of the aspects of who I am as a consultant and always have been as a consultant is, how do you hold yourself responsible for where you are, who you're working with, what's the outcome? I use very loosely, none of us are enslaved. We make choices, and sometimes that prison mentality comes out of the mortgage we have, or the private educations we want our kids, or that new car we want, or just to get out of debt, we hold on to things. So I will tell you, your mindset, and then you looking at the organization and not waiting until, if I waited for her to ask me how things are going in my life, well, no, it's not her responsibility. It's not his responsibility. And in org dynamic theory, the concept of employment is actually known as a social contract. It's a contract between individuals, because at the end of the day, a legal organization is nothing but a group of individuals.
Yeah.
What do you bring to the party?
Yeah, I totally, as you were talking, I don't know if we could even answer this question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Do you think we've almost gone too far to a certain degree where it's almost easy to just lay blame on everyone else? Well, this person said this and they offended me, and I know they meant to do it, or they did this and I didn't like it, and
yes.
And it's almost like they should know exactly what I want and what I need, and if they and if they don't guess right, I'm going to go to HR and file a complaint. And it feels like, wow, we want people to feel empowered, so they call out bullies. We don't. It's almost puts people in handcuffs. So I had a leader. I never did work with him, but he had come to me and he said, yeah, I've got this team, and I had said this joke trying to get the team to loosen up. Well, someone didn't like the joke, and they complained to HR, and they said they felt kind of offended and microaggressed by this joke. He said, so the net effect is I'm just not going to engage with the team anymore. I'm just not going. I'm not. If they're going to be offended and everything I do, I might as well just not even engage with them. So they will not have access to me as a manager anymore. Mm-hmm. So interesting. I don't know what we do with that.
Okay, so I will go back to the very first thing you said when you opened this, and I'm going to paraphrase. This is a really big thing. I would say to us and to all of your listeners, we are in a rapidly changing mindset of how do we handle situations, because we've done it all different kinds of way before, and now we're trying to learn a new way, and it feels miserable. I will tell you, for me, it feels miserable. I suck back my
beautiful. That's beautiful.
I can do nothing but tell you my truth. I have to really be more thoughtful than my normal dominant behavior and extroverted behavior and slightly sarcastic behavior would like me to naturally be. That being said, there are days that I offend people just walking in the room. I used to have a line that says, my breathing sometimes is good enough to do it. I carry myself in a certain way. I wear certain clothes, you name it. I once, 35 years ago, was doing a seminar for a corporation, and I proudly had a button on that said, I could be here today because I have good childcare. And that offended women in the room. They felt I was bragging. Now, I was trained well enough to know that when you say something to me, when you have allowed something to erupt, my only job is to stand in place and listen. Because you're giving me a ton of information, none of which has anything to do about me and my childcare. None of it. But that takes enormous practice. Not everyone can have degrees in psychology, but everyone can learn to not respond so quickly. And that would be a very good place. So to go back and recircle. Yes, we're in a time of transition. My hope is that we stop this walking away program. This, you don't like me, I don't like you, I'm taking my toys and I'm going away. We are there. I will tell you that it has become as equally hard for me in business and settings as it is for anyone else. And I want it to be better, and I am committed to do my part. So there is a great three sentence or three phrase that I use that has guided me from the day I heard it. And I wish I could tell you who the actual author is. It may be Tony Robbins, but that isn't who I heard it from.
Okay.
When you enter a conversation, and this is a great tip for all of your listeners and viewers, when you are in a relationship with someone and you want to make a statement, especially about something you're not very happy about, make sure your statement has no shame, no blame, and no rationalization. I call it the 3 N's of success. No shame, no blame, no rationalization. So in the example you gave, that person could have said, I heard this person say that. I heard it made them feel this way. I don't agree with that, but I heard what they said. How can we work together to make sure that doesn't happen again? Meaning you have to take responsibility for your feelings. I did not hurt your feelings. You felt hurt. It's a nuance, but that's, if you just keep the top of your mind, no shame, no blame, no rationalization. If you can own your part that way, we move the train along little by little.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's so beautiful. And I think I'm hearing a couple things in there. No shame, no blame, no rationalization. And also, don't be so quick to move. Don't be so quick to jump to conclusions. Are we all? Well, these don't help us very much, right? These just make us move quicker.
I'll tell you, long before we had smartphones, we had the natural way of being an introverted processor or an extroverted processor. And an extroverted processor, their mouth is going while their brain starts thinking. An introverted processor actually goes quiet first. Now you have smartphones, whether you're extroverted or introverted, your little thumbs are out of control and you're responding too quickly.
Yeah.
More than guilty. I call it flaming. I have sent text messages that flame. And when I have the presence of mind, when I can teach others I have many clients who I request they send nothing to certain people within their organizations before they shoot it to me first.
Oh, nice.
Just so I can recraft it, because, the men and women I work with aren't out to look for a fight. They're looking to get results. And if you end up in a fight, the results get that much further away.
Yeah.
So if I can help you recraft, and we have a joke, some people now know when I've recrafted, some people in organizations know when I've recrafted someone's comments. And there is an underlying joke that said, oh, Andrea did a good job on that one. Letting you have that joke to ease, laughing eases things.
Yeah.
Then, we are who we are. And as long as we know it, we can work with it. There's nothing we can't work with.
So we're about to move into a break, but even in that little example, what I love about that is they gave that person grace, even though they knew that it went through you, because and you recrafted it, because that person maybe didn't know how to say it the right way, but they cared enough about how it was going to be received that they asked you to do it. So we're not expecting people to be perfect. We're just expecting people to we want to feel cared about. And I think maybe that's the part that's missing. And maybe that's the big issue in the whole world today. We just want to feel more cared about.
Okay. And that was exactly what the Gallup research showed. It showed that it was about well-being and satisfaction, that their managers had not asked them in the last 3 months about their well-being and satisfaction. What you just spoke about is what people know when they can tell, and it's really such a toning down. I take out explosive words, and we all use, I have a term in my work that says you take the drama out of the trauma.
Yeah. So
what you're doing is de-escalating. It's pretty boring. It's a little bit like the first 10 minutes of a PBS NewsHour. Everybody talks like this, the world is ending. But you know what? They're not inflaming us. They're having us listen to the facts.
Yeah.
And that's what you want when you're trying to resolve something.
So let's go into break. When we come back, I want to dig into this a little bit more because I think we're stumbling on something really, really critical and important on how we all, as individuals, as people, as leaders, can start to move differently in a world that's gotten a little bit crazy.
It is very doable. Hold that thought.
I think so. Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Here's your coaching minute for the week, presented to you by the Leadership Foundry. Dysfunction in the workplace, it's a pervasive problem. Here's a simple tip to eliminate dysfunction, both in your team, but even in the environments around you. Clarify your team members' roles, goals, and responsibilities. So just spend some time thinking about, does all of my team know? Does each of them know what their role is, what the goals are of the team, and their responsibilities? If the answer is yes, you right there eliminate 50% of all the dysfunction that could come up in your team. If the answer is no, think about how you could do that better. When we don't do that, one of two things happens. Either people overlap work and they step on each other's toes, or you have one person carrying much bigger load while a couple other people are hanging out not doing near as much work. It's one of the big problems in the nonprofit world is a lack of clarity around roles, goals, and responsibilities. So focus on those three things, and I promise you, not only will you eliminate dysfunction, it's going to make your workplace that much more enjoyable. This is the Brandon Smith Show, and of course, we're returning back from break. And right before break, Andrea, you and I, we were talking about, we were continuing on this idea of mindset and mindset shift. And I love the discussion that we were having right before break on how we've been so quick to maybe jump to conclusions with people and trying to avoid, and you gave that great kind of 3-part rule for us, avoiding kind of blame, shame, and rationalization. Right. And when people are kind of coming to us. And then we went down this path of saying, maybe just feeling not cared for is the root of all this. We don't feel cared for. I mean, it made me think of, I remember doing 360 interviews for one of my clients, and I was interviewing people, and this particular person, kind of got some really harsh, critical feedback. And then later, when the person delivering the feedback that I gathered understood more about what was going on, they said, "Oh, I wish I had never said all those things," because they just hadn't really put themselves in the other person's shoes. So if we're saying that we all need a little more caring or a little more empathy with each other, what are some things that we could start to do to put that in place? Or what are some things maybe you coach your clients to do to kind of make employees feel more cared for or connection?
And this is when I become a functionalist. We are so busy. The challenge with doing this right at work is that none of us has job descriptions that actually say that's the top of what you're supposed to be doing. Our job descriptions or what we're founding or what we're creating has to do with 1,000 other things, but not necessarily that. So it's already starts out as kind of an afterthought. And the best way to be thoughtful about it is to know your own needs and trigger points. Be the sole responsibility that your needs get met. There is a line that I use in seminar a lot, and I'll try and call it up correctly. I will take care of me for you if you take care of you for me. So a lot of times I will use that in relationship conversations, but we must understand that every time we're in a space together, at this moment in time and for this moment in time, we have entered relationship. Yeah. And as that, I've got to keep my house nice and tidy. So if something makes me feel miserable, if I feel uncomfortable, all of those things, and I will tell you at this time we're having this conversation at some of the lowest unemployment definitely in the last decade. And this is the best time for you as an individual, and all of us use, to be able to say, what do I really want? How do I behave? What do I have to take responsibility for? And when it's not there, how do I have courageous conversations with the people I'm working with so that I can get it? Now, one thing this is the major disclaimer. There are some people you just don't want to work with. There are just some companies you just don't want to work with. And it is time for you to pack your bags and leave. I have always felt that way. And every excuse you try to give me when a situation is truly inappropriate for you is your responsibility.
Yeah. But what I like how you set that up really well is you said, start with you. Know yourself, take care of yourself, know your trigger points, do your work on yourself. Yep. And if that doesn't help change the situation, then maybe it is the situation or another person, or maybe they're not taking care of themselves for you. I'm going to take care of me for you. You're going to take care of you for me. And maybe they're not honoring that side, but you won't know that in a clean way until you have worked on yourself first. And
that's so imagine you're willing to do all these good things and you're going to take care of yourself and the other person's not coming to the party. That's more real than anything else, because you're the one who made the decision to do the work. Okay. What you have to do in that sense, this is when language becomes the most critical. So you've got a coworker, you've got a manager, and they have made a choice, such as your client who, just took his toys and went home, was never going to try to hear what may have been irritating people. And there is a way that you can phrase that and say, in order for me to be the most productive, I'm requesting that you do this.
Nice phrasing.
Notice, I did not say, because you don't do this, I can't get my job done.
That's right. That's right.
Same statement.
Yep.
Same. And let me tell you something. The girl from Queens wants to say it the second way. I teach this work because I have had to learn it. I know there's a God because I keep him humored all day long with me teaching this work. That's how challenging it is for me. But I believe in the outcome that strongly also.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so I've got a scenario for you. Okay. So let's because I know this happens to all of us, but I hear it happening more and more, particularly with folks maybe who are in the earlier season of their career. Someone has said something in the office, either directly at me or with me in the presence of this person in the statement, and I'm offended. Mm-hmm. It has offended me. It has triggered something in my story or my belief system, and I am offended. Mm-hmm. What do we do with that?
First, you really recognize, words hurt terribly. I mean, getting over the words, again, both from my psychology background and my human background, they hurt. So then you have to work at first resolving, why did it trigger me so much? Because when something really hits you hard, there's probably something in addition to what that person said. That person saying it resembled something that happened in the past, and there's a lot going on. So if you can own your part of that, and then be able to address, I always suggest, particularly in a working situation, to try and resolve, even just let the person know. I recently had someone do something that shocked me in a very public situation. It was quasi-business, and I took the time the next day. I let a few people know, because who had witnessed what had occurred, that I would be handling it. When I did, because of the relationship, it was not one that I needed to continue working with. And I said, I don't expect an apology. I don't really need anything. What I need you to do is just understand that this is how I allowed this to make me feel. I allowed this to make me feel.
Nice.
So other times you want to get to a point where you can make it feel better. We do, when people lose our trust, because in that moment they've lost our trust. We can't trust they're not going to hurt us with their words. And if you hurt me with your words, you're going to hurt me other ways. So over time, when they support you in your next project, when they're there with a great financing idea, when they're there because you had a personal tragedy and something had to, get done at work and they covered for you, all of those little pieces rebuilds that. And what happened with that statement just becomes a part of your history. It no longer becomes the destiny of that history.
Yeah. You're saying something so very profound in this, and that is we have a choice in that moment. And the choice is we can talk about how we responded to that, how it made us feel, and even provide that as a form of feedback to the person, not expecting anything from them, just sharing with them. This is how I interpret it through my lens. I'm not asking you to do anything with it. I'm just telling you. Or we can do the easier path, which is the more common path, which is the less productive path, which is you did this to me. You have to change. You have to fix this. Or go to HR. HR, you must remove this person and fix that person. Fire that person because they made me feel bad because they said this thing that they might not have intended to do it, but it hurt me. And so now you must make them go away.
Correct.
And while that feels better, there's no agency or ownership in the second one. There's agency and ownership in the first. Yeah. I felt this way when you said that, and that's me looking through my lenses. Not asking you to do anything with it. I just wanted to give you that feedback. But then people are more likely to hear it because you're not placing any judgment or expectation on them. You're not placing a shame, blame, or rationalization. You're just saying, this is what was going on in my head.
Correct.
I love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we are starting to already move towards close. I know, I can't believe it. So I ask all my guests this question. So what is one life hack you have for us to help us live a life more free from dysfunction? It could be personal. It could be professional. Anything is fair game.
Okay. So the one that I've had to learn the most, because I am extroverted, so obviously it's the thing I teach the most, is silence. That when something happens, go silent before you do anything else and really check in with yourself. This goes back to the social contract. This goes back to me taking responsibility for how I am showing up in this situation. Check in. Is it what you said or is it something else going on here? And then thoughtfully respond. And that may mean tomorrow, which is really outside our comfort zone. Yeah. I want to take care of this right now. All the jokes that we used to hear about married couples waking up in the middle of the night. I've got to tell you something. No, you don't. You do not have to tell me.
I love that.
It works the same way at work. And here's a way to get around it. And this is, I'll put the joke aside for the moment. Is that easy? No, it feels like crap. Because trust me, I am the girl who has a little bat in her back pocket. And I'd like to just hit you on the head and have you do what I tell you to do and not be that. But if you write it down, and the science is really good with this, that stopping the looping in your own mind of what occurred and putting it down on paper, letting it rest. It's a little bit like adding yeast to dough. Let that sucker rest a little bit and then see what happens.
Yeah.
If you can stop the reoccurring thoughts of the situation, writing helps do that.
Yeah. That's fantastic advice that I'm going to take immediately. I've learned, and I've gotten feedback I've learned from myself, that if I'm particularly emotionally charged on something, not only can people feel it, they can see it in my face because I get red. And so they know that I'm coming at them like a freight train and it doesn't get the results that I want. So if I can just hold that, don't react on it, let it kind of soak and simmer for 24 hours. Maybe write it down. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, this has been amazing. I have just learned so much from our conversation. It has really given me some new perspectives. I hope everyone else has gotten as much out of this as I have. If people want to learn more about you or purchase any one of your numerous books, where can they go?
Well, I always like to give gifts first. So number one, you can find out more than you want about me on my website, servingsuccess.com. That's servingsuccess.com. Of course, LinkedIn, Facebook, the whole Instagram world that we live in. But there is a gift if you go to my website. Go to the coaching part and go to the VIA survey. Okay. You can find in 15 minutes, you can find your top 5 strengths.
Oh, cool.
And that will start you on the process of seeing who you bring, what do you bring to the party that you really want to nurture.
Fantastic. Servingsuccess.com. Andrea, this has been
Amazon has the books.
Absolutely amazing. Fantastic. So, and thank you all for listening and watching the show. Of course, you can catch a new show every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. and listen on iTunes if you're not currently doing that, or you can watch live on Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT for Workplace Therapist. And if you haven't gone to my site, Workplace Therapist, check it out. It's resources there all for you to help your work life be that much more healthy and free from dysfunction. And if you've enjoyed today's show, which I certainly hope you have, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. That's how we grow our tribe and get more and more people on the bus of creating healthy workplaces. So until our paths cross again, have a great week and an awesome life.